Have you ever looked at the pristine, perfect, and impossibly thin piece of code and glass that runs your life and felt a nothing? I mean, really, truly nothing? We're living in an age of technological miracles, aren't we? Our phones are supercomputers, our watches track our every heartbeat, and yet, for so many of us, there's this strange, almost melancholic sense of loss for the clunky, slow, and gloriously imperfect gadgets of our past. It's not just a passing fancy. It's a deep, resonant ache for something we barely realized we had until it was gone. Just the other day, I tried to fall head over heels for the latest flagship phone. Seriously, I gave it my best shot. It unlocked via satellite, could render 4K on its impossibly vibrant AMOLED screen, and weighed less than my wallet. I spent hours, probably too many hours, customizing widgets, setting up intricate focus modes, and meticulously choosing the perfect color palettes. I wanted to love it, but when I finally dropped it onto my desk, the feeling that echoed back wasn't joy or satisfaction. It was a quiet, hollow, that was it. There was no chunky click, no reassuring whir, no comforting flicker of a screen coming to life. Just a sterile haptic tap and a silent LED pulse that smugly announced, all caught up. Modern tech does everything right, doesn't it? Sufficient, powerful, and endlessly capable. But somehow it leaves me, and I suspect many of you, emotionally empty. We're living in the swiping for brain chemicals era. Smooth, frictionless, and utterly forgettable. When your camera can take 100 identical photos, none of them feels like a keeper. When everything is optimized to the nth degree, nothing feels truly special. We've traded the rich texture of interaction for blinding speed, genuine curiosity for instant convenience. And what have we gotten in return? A constant, low-level anxiety about battery levels, cloud storage limits, and the next mandatory update. It's a paradox, isn't it? Technology has improved by every measurable metric, and yet, it feels less alive, less human. It's a digital ghost in the machine, impeccably designed, but lacking a soul. Now, rewind with me for a moment. Let's go back to the mid-90s. Can you picture it? The first time the family computer arrived, it wasn't some sleek, minimalist slab. Oh no, it was a beige monolith. A hulking beast with a CRT belly that protruded defiantly and a turbo button that, let's be honest, never actually seemed to do anything. But the moment we peeled off that plastic, that unmistakable smell of industrial-grade ABS resin filled the den. It was the scent of possibility, of a new world unfolding right there in our living room. Dad, with a reverence usually reserved for sacred texts, placed the encyclopedia-sized manual on the desk. Inside, nestled amongst diagrams and technical jargon, were jokes about the information superhighway, written by someone who probably still used a typewriter. We'd boot MS-DOS, and the floppy drive would crunch like gravel underfoot, a sound that today's silent SSDs can't even begin to replicate. And in that moment, we felt like astronauts, explorers venturing into an unknown digital cosmos. Later that year, the true magic happened. We installed a modem. A phone cable snaked from the wall to this miraculous box, and suddenly, numbers on a screen had the power to make our entire house ring. My friends and I would crowd around that single keyboard, taking turns typing cryptic commands, our ears straining to hear the glorious 14K handshake shriek. 2 tones, a pause, 2 more, another pause, like an electronic owl learning a secret, ancient handshake. It was a symphony of connection, a sonic portal opening to the wider world. We did our homework on WordPerfect, played pixelated games at a dizzying 320 by 200 resolution, and the machine crashed every 6 hours like clockwork. But here's the thing. Every single boot up felt like we were standing on a new frontier. The device itself was undeniably limited, but our sense of what was possible felt utterly boundless. The clunking diskette, the mesmerizing CRT flicker, even the whirring. Psychologists have a term for this, you know? It's called the effort heuristic. Simply put, we tend to value things more, to imbue them with greater meaning. Think about it. Remember the ritual of inserting a game cartridge, perhaps blowing on it? Even if it didn't really help. Wiggling it twice, and then, finally, hearing that satisfying click before the Nintendo logo magically appeared? Those weren't just extra steps. They were tiny, meaningful rituals. And rituals, by their very nature, create meaning. They transform a mundane action into an anticipated event. Childhood devices were often simple enough for a kid to genuinely understand almost every moving part. Take a Walkman, for example. It had 3 buttons: play, fast forward, and rewind. If you wanted track 3, you didn't have a track list. You guessed, pressed fast forward, and watched the tape reels spin until they looked roughly symmetrical. That tiny bit of cognitive friction, that active engagement, meant you learned your favorite album front to end. You understood the flow, the narrative, the art of it. Those songs still, to this day, can instantly teleport you back to the summer of 1.2V drain batteries and endless possibilities. Now, compare that to today's streaming services. 70 million songs at your fingertips, presented in randomized playlists generated by an algorithm. You listen, you swipe, and after the algorithm stops prompting you, you often forget what you even listened to an hour ago. It's the difference between riding a bike, feeling the wind in your hair and the muscle memory of balance, and being chauffeured in a silent, hyper-efficient EV. One imprints itself on your very being. The other is efficient, yes, but ultimately interchangeable. The simple act of engaging, of having to do something, created a bond that frictionless convenience often struggles to replicate.
Possible. All the power and excitement of Nintendo right in the palm of your hand. Introducing Game Boy.
The Game Boy, for instance, wasn't merely a gaming device. Oh no, it was a golden ticket to community, a passport to playground politics. With its 4 AA batteries, its unassuming 4-shade screen, and that iconic link cable, it forged bonds and hierarchies. Trade you a mute woe for a mew wasn't just a phrase. It was currency, a declaration of social standing. The device itself was just the gateway. The true, invaluable feature was the sprawling human network it powered. Think about it. Walkmans, Tamagotchis.
Well, if it isn't Tamagotchi, her new favorite pet. Yes! So what's that make me, fish sticks? Oh my...
Each of these created its own microculture, complete with unique vocabularies, unspoken rules, and shared experiences. Parents of a certain age will remember the jolt of cultural shift the first time they saw a Walkman and realized music could be a private, personal experience. Kids today, growing up with AirPods as a default, may never know that particular kind of revelation. When technology is young, When it's new and groundbreaking, each device often serves as a badge of identity, a statement of who you are and what you're part of. But when technology matures, when it becomes ubiquitous and standardized, it transforms into a commodity. And here's the kicker: commodities, by their very nature, don't create stories. They don't foster the kind of shared narratives that become the bedrock of our fondest memories. They just exist.
I took good care of her, and she changed again. Changed? I got changed into the water and hit baby. You got me, yeah. So Tamagotchi can pause.
Nostalgia, it turns out, isn't just a pleasant pastime or a fleeting sentiment. It's a profound coping mechanism, a psychological balm for the soul. Neurologists have actually found that recalling those warm, fuzzy childhood memories lights up the reward systems in our brains, actively lowering stress hormones like cortisol. Remember the lockdowns? eBay sales of 80s tech spiked by a staggering 400%. People weren't buying functionality, were they? They were buying emotional regulation. They were seeking comfort, a tangible connection to a time that felt more secure. The satisfying clack of a Game Boy button. The mechanical whir of a Polaroid spitting out a fresh print. Even the gentle hiss of a CRT powering on. These aren't just sounds or sensations. They are potent sensory signatures that trigger autobiographical memories faster and more vividly than simply looking at old photos. In times of uncertainty, whether it's climate change, inflation, or the latest terrifying AI headlines, our minds instinctively retreat to a mental era when solutions felt as tangible and straightforward as a cartridge slot. Technostalgia is, in essence, the psychological equivalent of comfort food, except the calories are measured in kilobytes, and the satisfaction is immeasurable. It's a way of reaffirming our past, our identity, and our resilience in a world that often feels overwhelmingly complex. Modern devices are smooth, aren't they? Almost universally so. And there's a reason for that. Smoothness scales beautifully in manufacturing. It's efficient, cost-effective, and aesthetically pleasing to many. But here's the hidden cost. Smoothness often erases crucial memory cues. Think back to the original Nokia 3310. It had a convex keypad that felt almost like a braille poem under your thumb. Every text message was a subtle, satisfying thumb gymnastics routine. Your fingers knew those buttons. The iPhone, by contrast, has no texture. Every interaction, every swipe, every tap feels fundamentally the same. Neuroscientist David Eagleman calls this phenomenon sensorimotor amnesia, a state where, when feedback loops are removed, when the rich tapestry of sensory information is stripped away, the brain stops encoding events as unique and distinct. The result? We remember far fewer interactions with a generic touchscreen than we do with a distinctive flip phone or a chunky handheld console. That's why you can still vividly recall the exact weight and texture of a Game Boy Color in your hand, the specific feel of its buttons, but you might struggle to remember which case you chose for your current smartphone, let alone the exact sensation of typing on it. The lack of tactile differentiation blurs experiences, making them less memorable, less sticky. Our hands and brains crave that physical dialogue, that unique feedback that older tech provided in spades. Ever been to a thrift store and spotted that 40-year-old dad circling the electronics rack like a hawk? He's not broke, I promise you. He's hunting for emotional anchors, for tangible pieces of his past. The resale value of an unopened, first-generation iPod video can often exceed its original MSRP by triple. The original iPhone box alone, empty, can fetch 80 pounds. Why? Because people are willing to pay a premium for these relics. Possession, in this context, isn't just about owning an object. It's about extending a memory, safeguarding a piece of personal history. Collectors often speak of hardware memories. The satisfying clink of opening a battery cover, the faint, metallic smell of lithium, the familiar creak of a worn hinge. These aren't just details. These micro-sensations are hard-coded into the object itself, becoming part of its very essence. Owning it is like storing a bit of your soul, a sliver of your past, in a plastic shell. And this is where digital items fall short. You can't truly collect them in the same way. When Apple stops signing iOS 14, that specific firmware effectively dies forever, becoming inaccessible. Meanwhile, a Game Boy cartridge, decades old, faithfully keeps its data for 30 years or more, requiring no server, no login, no ongoing subscription. It's a permanent, tangible artifact in an increasingly ephemeral digital world. This desire for permanence, for a physical connection to our past, fuels the collector's obsession and highlights the inherent fragility of purely digital assets. Let's be honest, Instagrams on this day feature and Google Photos rediscover this day aren't born purely out of altruistic nostalgia. They are, first and foremost, engagement engines. They expertly resurface the same highlight reels, the most flattering, idealized versions of our past, until those memories become polished, almost too perfect. This constant, curated reinforcement subtly convinces us that the past was indeed better, simpler, more joyful. And paradoxically, this algorithmically generated nostalgia often increases our appetite for tangible tech that simply can't be faked. That's precisely why a TikTok clip of someone meticulously restoring a dusty old Super Nintendo isn't just content. It's algorithmic gold. It's proof that the past wasn't just a filtered image or a fleeting story. It was a physical artifact, something you could hold, repair, and truly interact with. In a world awash with digital ephemera, where everything is a tap away and instantly disposable, the mere, simple act of blowing on a cartridge and inserting it feels more real, more authentic, than even the most stunning 4K HDR video. It's a rebellion against the intangible, a craving for the grit and texture of physical reality. Today, everything is quite literally one tap away. And on the surface, that sounds absolutely fantastic, doesn't it? The pinnacle of convenience. Yet, by removing all friction, we've inadvertently removed discovery, too. Cast your mind back to 1998. Downloading a single song was an odyssey. a genuine adventure. You'd find a torrent on LimeWire, initiate the download, and then you'd wait. Maybe 3 hours, maybe more. And then, the inevitable, you'd realize it was the wrong track or a terrible quality rip, and you'd have to start all over again. It was a process, but when that song finally landed on your hard drive, often after hours of effort, it wasn't just a file. It was a trophy. It survived on that hard drive for years, and you, the listener, built a genuine relationship with it. Now, Spotify delivers 50 million songs instantly, effortlessly. And because of that instantaneous access, no single song feels truly earned. Technology has, in its relentless pursuit of efficiency, sanded off the messy middle, all the effort, all the little struggles, all the learning that made the reward so incredibly sticky. Our modern gadgets are like highways without scenery. Faster, yes, incredibly efficient, but ultimately they're not very memorable. The journey itself, the messy middle, is where the memories are made, where the stories are forged, and where our appreciation for the destination truly deepens. Old tech, bless its imperfect heart, failed in spectacularly human ways. When a VHS tape unraveled, you didn't panic. You grabbed a pencil and physically re-spooled it, a simple, almost therapeutic act. When your beloved Game Boy fell into a mud puddle, a common childhood catastrophe, you didn't despair. You dried it out under a desk lamp overnight, hoping against hope. And often it worked. The recovery process wasn't just a repair. It was a hero's journey, often shared with friends, full of suspense and eventual triumph. Smartphones today, on the other hand, fail cryptically. Error 53 database not found. They'll inform you with cold, digital indifference. And then what? You're herded to a gleaming glass palace, a sterile Genius bar, for an $800 repair that feels more like a transaction than a rescue mission. The story ends not with a legend of your ingenuity, but with a disheartening receipt. There's no agency, no personal connection to the fix. The magic is gone, replaced by an opaque, expensive black box. We miss the days when we could understand and even participate in the resurrection of our prized possessions. Remember LAN parties? Oh, the sheer dedication. Lugging those monstrous 20-pound CRTs upstairs, carefully running coaxial cables across a dorm corridor, meticulously setting static IPs like a team of covert spies. The joy, the true joy, wasn't just in the game itself. It was in the gathering, the shared effort, the physical presence of your friends. Those experiences converted customers into evangelists, forging tight-knit communities built on shared passion and physical proximity. Today, we have cloud servers, seamless cross-platform matchmaking, and crystal-clear voice chat. These are, without a doubt, technological miracles that streamline the experience. Yet, in their efficiency, they often transform games into mere services, vibrant communities into impersonal demographics, and genuine engagement into cold, hard metrics. The very tech that once united us, that brought us together in sweaty, pizza-fueled rooms, now often segments us into microtransactions and anonymous online lobbies. We gain convenience, but we lose a certain irreplaceable intimacy, a sense of belonging that only shared physical space can truly provide. The warmth of human connection is often sacrificed at the altar of digital efficiency. Think about the Super Nintendo.
Decide to step up to this kind of power, this kind of challenge, this kind of flying, crashing feat.
It launched in 1991. For years, its successor was a distant dream. Players had ample time, years in fact, to master every title, to explore every secret, to truly live with the console. It became an extension of their childhood. Now, consoles refresh mid-generation, and flagship phones are outmoded in a mere 24 months. This relentless, rapid obsolescence short-circuits nostalgia before it even has a chance to form. How can we miss what we never truly got to know, what we never had enough time to deeply bond with? The SNES era feels so incredibly nostalgic precisely because we spent thousands of hours together, forging countless memories. The latest flagship phone, by contrast, feels inherently disposable because we already know, deep down, that a newer, shinier model will be announced next quarter. This constant churn prevents the deep, emotional attachment that fuels genuine nostalgia. We're always chasing the next best thing, never truly settling in, never fully allowing a device to become a cherished part of our personal history. Before we dive even deeper into why Tactile and limited tech meant so much more to us, I want you to pause for just a moment. Really, truly reflect. What's one gadget from your past that made you feel a genuine sense of wonder, a spark of pure magic? And honestly, when was the last time a new product, fresh out of the box, made you feel that exact same way? Share your thoughts below. I genuinely read every single answer, and I'm actively collecting your incredible stories for a future episode. Also, if this conversation resonates with you, if it stirs something within, consider joining our newsletter. No spam, I promise. Just friendly, thoughtful deep dives into the fascinating intersection of memory and machines. You'll find the link in the description. Your experiences are a vital part of this ongoing dialogue. Here's a really intriguing thought. Digital natives, those who've grown up immersed in screens, are actually creating fewer episodic memories per hour on their devices than previous generations. Neuroscientists attribute this in part to the compression algorithm that powers modern multitasking. Jumping constantly between feeds, apps, and notifications trains the brain to encode experiences generically rather than specifically. It's like our brains are filing everything under digital consumption, instead of that amazing moment playing Game Boy on the carpet. The monochrome pixels of a Game Boy, by stark contrast, left ample space for the brain to fill in the sensory overflow. You weren't just seeing gray. You were remembering the music drifting in from the other room, the specific texture of the carpet beneath your legs, the quiet intensity of your friend's breath as they watched you finally beat Wily's castle. The sparse stimuli of old tech actually encouraged our imaginations to work harder, to create a richer, more multisensory experience in our minds. Less visual input meant more mental engagement. And what's the result? Sparse stimuli, it turns out, often lead to incredibly dense, vivid, and deeply personal memories. Our brains were active co-creators of the experience, not just passive receivers. Buying a Game Boy was a one-time purchase, a clear act of ownership. It never auto-updated its software without your consent, and it certainly never demanded a monthly subscription fee just to exist. The cartridge you owned was truly yours in the most permanent sense of the word. You had a tangible, lasting connection to it. Current tech, however, is increasingly licensed to us through lengthy end-user license agreements, and often do expire or change without our direct input. When ownership is partial, when it's constantly subject to the whims of a distant corporation, the bond we form with the object inevitably weakens. The device can't truly anchor our identity or become a stable part of our personal narrative because, at any moment, it can be remotely revoked, altered, or rendered obsolete. That's why the idea of owning a simple Tamagotchi feels so secure, so fundamentally yours, while owning a suite of smart home IoT devices often feels fragile, tenuous, and constantly dependent on external forces. True ownership fosters a sense of security and belonging that licensing agreements simply can't replicate. It's the difference between having a loyal pet and renting one for a limited time. Unlimited entertainment, an endless stream of content. But here's a curious truth about human psychology. We are often satiated, and sometimes even thrive, when presented with thoughtful constraints. Think about it. The average Game Boy game had perhaps 10 to 15 levels. The average ZX Spectrum game might have lasted a mere 10 minutes if you were truly good. These limitations, rather than being restrictive, actually created curiosity, fostered discussion, and gave birth to playground myths about hidden secrets and impossible achievements. Limitation, in a profound way, creates narrative. It gives shape and meaning to our experiences. The infinite scroll, by contrast, does not. We miss childhood tech because it had clear boundaries, clear endings, and endings fundamentally create meaning. It's the same logic that explains why a well-crafted novel often outranks an endless soap opera emotionally. Boundedness allows for emotional closure, and closure is incredibly fertile ground for nostalgia. When everything is endless, nothing feels particularly special, nothing feels truly completed, and thus nothing truly sticks in our emotional memory. The finite nature of old tech made every moment count. Here's something else we've lost: the ritual of maintenance. Cassette players required us to clean their tapes, VCRs needed head cleaning fluid, and those finicky cartridge contacts often demanded an alcohol wipe and a bit of gentle persuasion. This cycle of maintenance wasn't a chore. It created a reciprocal relationship with the object. We cared for it. In return, it entertained us. It was a tangible give and take. Smart devices today, they're often too reliable to truly love in that same way. They just work, or they don't, and you're told to replace them. The absence of this hands-on maintenance removes that vital reciprocity, turning our interactions into purely transactional exchanges. We miss the screwdrivers, the cotton swabs, and the 90% isopropyl alcohol because they were tools of our agency, symbols of our ability to understand, interact with, and prolong the life of our cherished possessions. We were active participants in their survival, and that made them feel more like companions than mere tools. Let me tell you a story. When I recently showed my nephew a Game Boy Color, complete with a well-loved copy of Pokemon Blue, he was initially amused by its heft, its primitive screen. He's a tablet kid through and through, but by the end of the weekend, he wouldn't return to his sleek, modern tablet. He was utterly hooked by the simple, undeniable joy of trading Pokemon with me using that iconic yellow link cable. For him, the old tech wasn't retro. It became a piece of connective tissue, a bridge across generations. My nephew doesn't feel nostalgia, not in the way we do, but he absolutely feels the magic. A magic that modern devices often mask by trying to do absolutely everything. Sometimes the clearest, most profound way to see the future, to truly understand what we value, is to revisit the past without irony or filters, to experience its raw, unadulterated charm. It reminds us that sometimes less truly is more, and that genuine connection transcends technological sophistication. This exploration, this deep dive, really digs into why our hearts cling so fiercely to hardware that, by every objective spec sheet, is utterly outdated garbage. If any moment in this journey reminds you of your own childhood, if it sparks a memory, please type it out in the comments below. What was the gadget, and how, in its own unique way, did it alter your sense of self, your understanding of the world? I genuinely reply to every single one, and I love creating community posts around your incredible stories. If you're keen for even more of these insights, more monthly deep dives into how technology shapes our emotions and memories, then make sure to subscribe. Don't miss out on the conversation. There's a crucial, often overlooked aspect to our longing for old tech. Its inherent repairability. Think about it. Replaceable batteries, standard Phillips screws, plastic you could actually glue back together. These weren't just design choices. They were attributes that extended a device's lifespan and, crucially, our emotional relationship with it. We could fix them, and in doing so, we deepened our bond. Current sealed gadgets, with their proprietary fasteners and glued-in components, are practically designed for forced disposal. When an object cannot be repaired, when it's designed to be discarded rather than cherished, it simply cannot be loved for very long. This isn't just about sentimentality. It's about environmental ethics. Our nostalgia for reparable tech overlaps profoundly with our growing desire for sustainability. Both ask for objects that can be cared for, maintained, and treasured over time, rather than mindlessly consumed and then carelessly thrown away. It's a powerful connection between our past, our present, and our future. Our longing for the tech of our childhood isn't a rejection of convenience. Not really. It's something far deeper. It's a craving for intimacy. The clunky cartridges, the mesmerizing crackle of CRTs, the reassuring weight of a Walkman. These things implicitly asked for effort, for our attention, for a bit of maintenance. And what is love, after all, without effort? When we blew into those cartridges and saw them boot up again, we learned a profound lesson. Affection plus effort truly does equal salvation. We salvaged our games, and in doing so, we salvaged a piece of our day, a piece of our joy. Our sleek, modern devices are undoubtedly marvels of physics and commerce. They perform flawlessly, effortlessly, but because they rarely ask for our care, for our active participation, we often don't give it. They do everything well, yes, but because of that, they often feel nothing to us. The gadgets of our youth, in their beautiful imperfection, did so little, but the vast, imaginative space they left open for our minds and hearts makes them feel infinite. We can't return to the 90s, of course, but we absolutely can return to that feeling. Own fewer devices, maintain them, share them, and yes, even let them fail spectacularly so you can have the joy of fixing them. Remember that you, as a human, always have the agency to hit the reset button, to engage, to connect. Let's carry forward the very essence of our childhood tech. Simplicity, tangibility, community, because the future we're building, right now, may also be someone's cherished past. I truly love to hear which device you most want to pass on, which piece of your history you want to share with the next generation. Tell me below, let's keep these vital conversations going. And if you like this, please share it with someone who still has their Game Boy tucked away in a drawer somewhere. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode, where pixels, memory, and meaning continue to intersect. Keep pressing select, keep pressing start.